We're ready to start. Are you ready, Karen?
I'm ready.
Welcome, everybody, and I'm so glad you could make it to probably one of our final sessions today to this wonderful conference. I know I've had a great time. My name's Debbie Miller, and I'm Jennifer's mom. And she passed in December of 17. Thank you for coming to the 8 Stages of Growing Through Grief that is being presented by Karen Camerado. Just a few things for you to remember. Your camera will be turned off during this workshop, which also is being recorded. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat box. Again, thank you very much for joining all of us at the Stages of Growing Through Grief. We're very glad that you joined us at the Compassionate Friends first virtual conference. Enjoy.
Hello, everybody. My name is Karen Camerado, as well as you probably already know. I first want to say thank you so much to Debbie Miller. She is our monitor today. She's the one who just introduced me, and I just really appreciate her. She's kind of calmed my nerves and told me how all this was going to go so that I wouldn't look like a complete crazy person. I am a little nervous. I don't do this all the time, so please bear with me. You will notice that I'm reading some of my notes, and I wish that I could memorize everything, but I'm getting old, and then grief brain, you know, it's just not a good combination. So I want to make sure that I don't miss anything. I have so much respect for the Compassionate Friends and the organization, and for you for being here. And I will be talking to you a little bit about what that means. But, you know, I just don't want to do anything to not show so much respect to this organization and to you. So just know that my experience is that of losing a child. But I know that there's others that are here that have lost a grandchild or have lost a sibling. And so if I mess up and just say child, please know that all of this applies to everyone here. I really just want to help you in any way that I can. If you have questions, you're going to be posting them in the chat, and Debbie's going to be keeping up with that. I do have it up here, and so I'm going to try to look at it while I'm doing my presentation just to make sure if there's anything that we need to just say right at that moment. But just know that you're not being ignored if you do ask a question in the middle. There's time at the end where we can answer those questions. We'll go through everything and make sure that we have covered it all. So I think let's get started. I just really appreciate you all being here, and I know what it means to have made this commitment. So about me, I am Karen Camerado. I am the founder of a company called Rising Above in Memory Of. I'm a grief coach, and I'm a mom of 3, 2 on earth and 1 in heaven. I think the main thing that qualifies me to be here speaking to you today is that I have survived the loss of a child. And I believe that anyone who is here and is breathing and is getting up out of bed every day is so courageous. And I know what that means. For me, the 3 key factors that led to my healing were telling my story over and over and over again. Sometimes in the beginning to complete and total strangers in the grocery store. Just had to keep telling it, had to keep saying what happened. Second, to have and express gratitude. And I know that for some of you, if you're new to this journey, that might seem crazy, but just know that we always have something that we can be grateful for, even if it is that we had our child and that we have our memories. And then third, and this is the thing that I'm really focusing on today, is taking action in memory of your child. Where did I come up with the idea of putting grief in your pocket? Well, this is something that I read a few years ago, and it just made such an impression on me. It is written by Jessica Watson, who is a blogger. Her blog is called 4 Plus an Angel, and it took me a while to find it because I had heard it quoted on something that I'd been to, and then I just had to start searching for it. It took me a while to find it, but I'm so glad that I found it because it really is, to me, it just explains so well how grief feels. And maybe you've heard this before, and if you have, just bear with me. The best way I can describe grieving over a child as the years go by is to say it's similar to carrying a stone in your pocket. When you walk, the stone brushes against your skin. You feel it, you always feel it. But depending on the way you stand or the way your body moves, the smooth edges might barely graze your body. Sometimes you lean the wrong way or you turn too quickly and a sharp edge pokes you. Your eyes water and you rub your wound, but you have to keep going because not everyone knows about your stone, or if they do, they don't realize that it can still bring this much pain. There are days you're simply happy now. Smiling comes easy and you laugh without thinking. You slap your leg during laughter and you feel your stone and you aren't sure whether you should be laughing still. The stone still hurts. Once in a while, you can't take your hand off the stone. You run it over your fingers and roll it in your palm and are so preoccupied by its weight, you forget things like your car keys and home address. You try to leave it alone, but you just can't. You want to take a nap, but it's been so many years since you've called in sad. You're just not sure anyone would understand anymore, or if they ever did. But most days, you can take your hand in and out of your pocket, feel your stone, and even smile at its unwavering presence. You've accepted this stone as your own, crossing your hands over it, saying mine, as children do. You rest more peacefully than you once did. You've learned to move forward as best you can. Some days you want to show the world what a beautiful memory you're holding. But most days you twirl it through your fingers, smile, and look to the sky. You squeeze your hands together and hope you're living in a way that honors the missing piece you carry until your arms are full again. I wanted to say how excited and happy that I am to be sharing this with you, and that I am in a place of true happiness right now. And so hopefully my happiness doesn't get on your nerves, but I understand if it can't, because I know that there is a point in your grief where you don't want to hear about positive and you don't want to hear about how to try to move forward in a positive way. So what I ask you today is, if I'm on your nerves because I'm too happy at points, just know that it is possible to get there, but I understand that not everybody's there yet. So by the same token, I just want to kind of say to keep your mind open. If you can, even if these concepts aren't something that feel right to you right now, just know that, just keep it in your back of your mind that it's a possibility that someday you will be ready to hear all of this and you can go back and draw on it. Let me see here if I can just, okay. On any given day, I can go into a Facebook group of grieving mothers and I find a post that says something like, "It's been 6 weeks since I lost my child. Please tell me it gets better." A plea from a mom new to this journey. And I'm always shocked by some of the replies. "Nope, never gets better." It doesn't get better, but it changes. I lost my child 10 years ago and it only gets worse. Of course, there will be some who say it gets softer. After time, it won't be so raw. And I sometimes feel like a mom who has lost a child feels like if she admits that it can get better, that they're giving up on their child. But I do not feel that way. Whenever I see these posts, I take it like my personal responsibility to go and give that mom a little bit of hope, to tell her, yes, it gets better. It takes work. It takes work, but it can get better. I'm now experiencing joy and fulfillment and a love for life that I never thought was possible. And sometimes I've gotten some pretty brutal responses. Must be nice. I will never feel that way. As long as I live, I'll never accept it. And sitting here today, you may be the one wondering, will I always feel this way? Or you may be the one saying, I'll never feel joy again. So I ask you just to please keep your mind open. Keep your mind and your heart open to the possibility that you can heal and grow through your grief. So I want to tell you a little bit about my story. Like you, I've lost a child. My firstborn, Nick, was the light of my life. And like so many children you hear that leave us too soon, he was special. He was so funny. He was cute, happy, loving, smart, kind. It just goes on and on. I'm sure you can relate. He was just so special to me. Well, one January morning, there was some snow and freezing temperatures where we live in South Carolina, and school was canceled and daycare was closed. When Nick got dressed to go play with the neighborhood kids, I was so excited for him because he was going to play street hockey with his new stick that he'd just gotten for Christmas. His baby sister and I stayed warm and cuddly inside when he went to play. And after about an hour, there was a loud banging on my front door with one of his friends telling me that Nick had fallen in the pond. On that terrible day, my special 8-year-old son had tried to help his friend who'd fallen through the ice of our small neighborhood pond. And when he crawled out on the ice to offer his hands, the ice beneath him broke, and both boys died that day. So what I've decided whenever I tell the story lately is that it's become sort of mechanical feeling, and I don't like the way that feels. I've just told it so many times now that I just never want it to be breezed over as something that's not affecting me, because of course it still does to this day. So what I thought would be nice and what I like to do when I tell Nick's story is just to give everyone a chance, just a few seconds, to just stop and think about anything that you need to think about right now, whether it's your child, your grandchild, your sister, or your brother, or just take a breath and breathe through what you've been through and what you're learning this weekend and what the potential for that all means. So if we can just take 1 minute, not even a minute, let's just breathe and take just a second. Okay, so thank you. Thank you so much for this. I feel like all moms want to stop and think about their kids. I know that we all are so proud and so have so much love for them. Well, this whole thing happened 24 years ago. And I'm sure you've heard the saying that time heals all wounds. And you have probably learned the hard way that for someone who's grieving, that's just not true. Only that grieving person themselves has the power to heal their wounds. There's not a book, there's not a therapist, there's not a loved one, there's no one person or thing that can heal your wounds or your loss. Your healing must come from inside of you, and it requires more than just waiting. It requires action. I will tell you that I didn't take action for a very long time. I covered myself in numbness and I went on with life doing what was expected of me. Working, taking care of my daughter, Brooke, and my son, Colin, who came along about 1.5 years after Nick died. I saw a therapist early on, and I think that she may be the reason that I was able to get even to the numbness stage. Don't get me wrong, she was a super great help, and without her, I'm not sure that I would have been able to function on the very basic level, like going to the work and going to work and taking care of the kids. In 1996, when Nick died, the internet wasn't a thing. So I did seek answers. I really think the most common thing a mom who's just lost a child wants to know is, what do I need to do to make this pain stop? And that was me. I got books on the topic of grief and child loss, and I voraciously read stories of other moms of what had happened to their child. I was desperate to find some kind of a similarity that could offer me a what to expect when you've lost a child guide, like when I read the book What to Expect When You're Expecting when I was pregnant. I read all I could find on the subject, and to a certain extent, I guessed that it did help. I also attended a meeting of the Compassionate Friends very early on. But to be fair, I think it was too soon, and I just wasn't ready to be in the midst of so many others' pain. And I also didn't want to leave my children in the evenings to attend. At the time, again, internet wasn't a thing. Online meetings weren't a thing. One well-known book that I read, and I think most people who are grieving know about, is On Death and Dying by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, which talks about the stages of grief. I think we look to these stages as a checklist of what's going to happen to us next. But I'm sure that you found out by now that that's just not how it works. Looking back on it now, I realize that the stages, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance, are more like common emotions that many grievers experience. And again, I think it is super helpful, but it's all about what's happening to you, the emotions that you are overcome with. Well, a lot has happened in my life since Nick died 24 years ago, but it's only in the last 5 or 6 years that I started seeking, truly seeking knowledge, seeking new thought patterns, seeking a new way to live in the world. So you can see that it definitely didn't happen overnight, but it didn't have to take 24 years. After making many changes to my life, I decided I was ready to finally do something in honor of Nick. I took a course and became a grief coach, and now I work with moms like us that have not only help them through the early stages of grief, but also to help them find the meaning and personal growth, and yes, even happiness that I found. But as I began working with the moms and interacting with so many of them, I was educating myself on how to help the grieving. And I circled back around to the concepts that were there when I first became a griever. But what I was looking for were actions that one could take to truly grow through grief. And I didn't really find what I was looking for. So I started collecting notes about the actions that other moms had taken. The ones who wanted to grow, were trying to grow, had found ways to honor their children and ways to put meaning back in their lives. And it was through this research that I came up with the 8 stages of growing through grief. Are they really stages? I don't know. They're steps, they're actions, they're things that you can do. Just like the stages of grief, it doesn't necessarily have to happen in a certain order. They're not all mandatory in order to grow. And they're things that are going to be a part of our life forever. It's not just you do it once and it's done. You're going to constantly circle back around and bounce back and forth through all of these different actions. Sorry. Okay, so let me just go through the stages and tell you about them. Number 1 is allow. And if you have a notebook, this is a great place to just make a few notes on this. I do have a worksheet that I can send you. So again, I did put this in the Q&A. If you will send me an email, I will send you the official worksheet that has a place for all of these different stages. So the first one is allow. This is one stage where you have very little control over what you're able to do. It's almost like an alien's taken over your body and you aren't able to always do the things that you're telling yourself you should do. During this stage, you must allow your feelings to determine your actions rather than the other way around. Allow crying, allow sadness, anger, the desire to sleep, the desire to stay home. When these emotions are knocking at your door, you need to allow them or they'll grow bigger down the road. The main point of this stage of growth is to allow yourself to feel and do what you're able to do, both physically and emotionally. And at the end of this, I am going to turn off my screen sharing, and we're going to just kind of give some examples of different ways that we can act in each one of these stages. The second one is tend. During this stage, you must tend to yourself and your needs. Be nice to yourself and find ways to practice self-care, self-love, and self-preservation. This includes getting plenty of rest, drinking water, spa treatments, walk in nature, and seeking the help of a grief professional if it's necessary. The third is process. In this stage, you're processing your loss. You're moving from shock and denial to the reality of what's happened. This is the time that I was talking about where I told my story over and over again. I think it was part of me processing my loss. During the time you're learning details about the death, you're looking through photos and memorabilia, you're sharing memories with friends and family, and just completely talking about your loss whenever you need to. Next is educate. Oh, I'm not going through my slides. Here you learn everything you can about child loss, grief, major life changes, and coping skills. Some of the things we do during this stage are reading books, visiting websites, listening to podcasts, watching documentaries, attending seminars and retreats. And what you're doing here right now is part of educate. Number 5 is connect. As part of this stage, you're identifying the connections that feed your soul. True friends, loving family, church and support groups. You may need to actively reach out and initiate and maintain these connections, because although there are people that want to help, they're afraid or upset to hurt you, and they just don't know what to say or do. People desperately want to fix, and they know they can't, so they distance. They kind of put the knowledge that we all die, and your loss is a reminder that that's the truth. We all lose someone, and in some hidden place, we don't want to look at it. And sometimes when they're dealing with us, they're forced to look at it. But don't discount them. It just means that, again, we have to do the reaching out and the connecting. Number 6 is seek. When seeking, you will be looking internally and externally for your own personal answers and desires for what you want the rest of your life to look like. This is the perfect time to ask yourself, what would my child want me to do? How will my life best serve his memory or her? Number 7 is decide. And I believe this is the only mandatory step of growing through grief. It isn't easy, and some never reach the stage. But when you do, it has a direct effect on the quality of the rest of your life. This is when you decide to improve your situation. You decide to feel joy, and you decide to find meaning and purpose in your life. You get to decide who you want to be now, whether it's a modified version of your old self or a completely new person. It's so up to you. And then the final stage, and this is what you're doing right now. You're acting. Now that you've decided it's time to take some action, you take a step, you plan, you go to the gym, you sign up for a class, you volunteer at the animal shelter, you pick up the hobby, you go out with your friends, you start that business, you change your job, you take the trip, you start the charity, you make that move. Whatever it is, a simple act of acting on your plan in one area can have a domino effect on your life and what it can become. I know this isn't a simple solution. I know that deciding to grow through your grief is so scary. You may feel in some way like you're betraying your child by making this choice. But at the end of the day, we all have to decide what is the best way to honor our child's life. And again, it's so worth it. And for those that maybe missed one here, we are going to go through them all again. So, just so you know. Okay, so I just wanted to read this quote. And this is a quote that I was terrified to share at first because the concept of it is kind of bold. And so, again, if it's too bold for you to hear this right now, just store it away for later. But it's something that truly moved me, and so I wanted to share it with you. This is by Elizabeth Gilbert, and it sums up everything that I'm talking about. She says, I beg people who are suffering from loss to be brave enough to ask this question. What is the life that you can only have without that person? What is the life that I can live now, doing things I never would have done because we would have gone in different directions? I want to have the courage and the curiosity and the creativity to go figure out what that life is. I don't see it as a betrayal. I see it as continuing the really huge life-affirming spirit that she brought to me and to the world. So as you go forward in life, I encourage you to have the courage to truly ask this question. Okay, so that's the end of my presentation. I'm going to stop sharing the screen right now, and I want to go through all of the steps. Let me start. Okay, so I would love at this point for you to put questions in the chat if you have them as you go. The worksheet that I talked about looks like this. It's a 2-page worksheet that just basically has all 8 of the stages on there. And I've kind of made a list of the ways that I moved through these stages. And I would love for you to put here if you have a question about a way that you could take a step in this stage, or if you already have, so that you can share it with somebody. The first stage was allow. Here's some of the things I did at first. How can you get the worksheet? If you will just send me an email, you could try to put it in the chat, but I don't know if I'm going to have access to the chat afterwards, so I don't want to miss. I don't want to miss any of these. I'll try to write them down before we go, but my main important thing right now is just to present here. So if you can send me an email with your address, then I will send it to you. My email is Karen@risingaboveInMemoryOf.com. So I'll say it again, and it's somewhere in this chat as well. So anyway, the ideas for allow. I slept in. I didn't go out very much at all. I accepted help. I cried and somewhat isolated myself. This is the things that I had to allow. And I'm going to say now, that was early on. And now that I've been here 24 years, maybe you think that I cannot relate to you anymore. Like maybe I'm just too far away from my loss. But I will say, and this is not to discourage you, but that it does still affect me. And that there's times that it comes out of nowhere. For several years, I really made it through Nick's birthday perfectly fine. It was a very quiet thing for me. I didn't make a big, huge deal out of it, but I would always remember it, and I would be okay on that day. And this past year, for some reason, I don't know why, but the day really took me down. It took me down, and I literally had to check out. I had made a plan to go visit my daughter, and we went to dinner on his birthday, and we actually raised a glass and cheers to Nick and happy birthday, Nick. He would have been 32 this year instead of 8, which is what he is forever. And I don't know why, but just the thoughts of the things that probably affect you as well. What would be? What would be right now if he was still here? And I feel like I'm at the point where I'm missing out on some things. I'm missing out on maybe a wedding or grandchildren. And so even though it's been so long for me, it does still affect me. So every time you worry about taking a step forward and feeling like that's leaving your loved one behind, it isn't. So this year, after that happened, I took time off. I literally stopped. I gave myself some grace. And over these years of my personal growth, and I'll talk about some of these other things, but I have figured out things that help me. And so, like meditation helps me. Journaling helps me. Writing helps me. So these are the things that that I was able to get back on track quicker than what I used to be able to do because I didn't have the tools that I do now. And so I'm encouraging you as you go on to develop these tools, to figure out the ones. And there's so much out there. So it's something that you can tell yourself that you're going to do. And let's just say you decide to go see a therapist, which is going to be next on my list, intend. But you go see a therapist. You hate the therapist. They don't get it. They didn't lose a child. They just don't understand. Whatever the case may be. Is what I ask is don't give up the very first time. Don't try one thing and feel like well, that didn't work, so this is the end. There's so many things out there, and unfortunately, as we are going through this journey, we have to make it our job to go find those things. We shouldn't have to work. We've been through enough. But if we want to live a life that is meaningful and that has honor, that's just something we have to do. Okay, so back into tend. Okay, so hang on, because there's some people here saying some things. Okay, so you're explaining tend. Mentioned helping grieving moms early on in your speech. Have dads been included? How has your husband's journey been like? I'm only 4 months in my journey. 15-year-old son passed unexpectedly in March. Oh, I am so sorry. I think your name is John, but I can't really see the whole name. So for my authentic self, helping moms was what I felt qualified to do. I was worried that I would be talking to other people that had different loss and maybe they wouldn't relate to me, or maybe I would sound like I didn't know what I was talking about. So that's why I chose to focus on moms. As time has gone on, I do understand that I can help more than just moms. It's just, that's kind of where I am right now. My husband's journey was completely different. My husband reacted to grief in a completely different way. And I think the key, and you guys have probably been through some relationship things here, but I really feel like the key to marriage and relationship is that you have to understand that you're going to do it differently. And you can't look to the other person to do it the same way, or to be able to know what you need. We're all grieving. And so we have to take control of our own grief. We can't fix someone else, and someone else can't fix us. This is an individual journey. Now, it's a beautiful thing when you can come together and share pieces of it, and it's something totally to strive for. But, just the understanding that we are going to do it different makes a huge difference. Allow. I created a Missing You Cold playlist on YouTube when I can safely, no one around, no responsibilities that I need to attend to in that moment, let myself feel this loss and need to cry. I play this playlist of songs that open my shredded heart. I usually feel stronger after. Oh my God, Rob, and love that. That is one of the things that I actually tell people to do is make 2 playlists. Make the playlist for when you want to be missing coal. And then make the playlist for when you want to feel happy and when you want to feel hope. I mean, music is such a powerful thing. How does acceptance interfere? I don't really know what you mean by that, but here's what I take on the acceptance thing is that people don't like the word acceptance. Moms don't want to say that they've made it to the acceptance piece or that they've accepted it. And so what you need to know is that acceptance doesn't mean, oh yeah, it's fine. This is fine that this happened. I'm good with it. Acceptance means that you've learned that this is something that isn't changing. And so now it's our decision of what to do with that information. And so as I took this journey and I started to do the personal development stuff, I realized that I love it. And it was like a snowball effect of me wanting to find more and more and more and more things that helped me. But I would trade it tomorrow, guys, if I could have Nick back. So, and so would we all, right? I mean, I will go back to being, I call it like my dumb, clueless Karen. I would go back to being her in a minute if I could have Nick here, because there would be so many more gifts. But I can't. And so after so many years of just really going through life numb and not feeling joy in anything except maybe the things that my kids did, being able to go to my other children's things. But I also know that I'm super lucky that I had other children and that everyone's not as lucky. So, you know, I know that this is a difficult journey for everyone. And again, you know, we all wish we could trade it, but acceptance is saying that I know that I can't trade it. So what can I do now? Robin, that's beautiful. I've created something similar with a Jordan journal, list of his traits and memories from pregnancy to adulthood. It's something I can read when I'm down. Okay, I want to make sure that I don't go over time, but again, this is an amazing idea, Carolyn. 24 years, I did not write down memories. I didn't do this.
Karen,
Yeah.
let me just tell you, you have plenty time. I will let you know when we're down to 10 minutes, okay?
Okay,
Sorry.
okay, good.
Didn't mean to interrupt you, just didn't
I'm
want
like
you to rush.
I'm getting confused about what time it ends. So, all right, good.
Quarter of 1, we're good.
Okay. All right, good. So, yeah, writing your memories down. Do that now, because I didn't know. I didn't know to do that. And here I am, I'm 55 years old. I was 30 when this happened. And there's some things that I don't remember that kind of bother me, you know, like his favorite movie or what was his favorite food? Like, do I remember that anymore? It's really sad. So I feel like a memory journal is an amazing idea. Okay, it's assuring for me to hear you've been on this journey for a while. There's still hope for me. My son, an only child, died almost 14 years ago at age 14. I skipped 1 and 2, graded step 3 and 4, spending time on 6 for a while, staying busy, volunteering, helping others. I needed a 7 and 8, decide to act for myself and not helping everyone else. So if I can just say one thing to you, it is you are empowered to make this decision. You have permission to give yourself the grace to make this decision. You are not leaving anyone behind by making the decision to search for happiness. Okay, let me move on, and then I'll come back to this because I want it to flow because there's some things that we're talking about here that I'm probably going to touch on. So in the tend period, I saw a therapist. This is weird, but I got my nails done a lot back then. I don't know why, but I think somebody was telling me to do some self-care stuff, and the only thing I could think of was nails. So I had really nice nails back then. I don't anymore. But at the time, it was a moment. It was a moment for me to get away. Now I meditate, I do yoga, I relax, I take a break, I give myself the permission to sit and do nothing and watch Netflix if I want to. Again, my toolbox has grown so much in the area of tending to myself because I've been doing this, and I've got on this path where I just really want more and more. The next, I'll read them all again because everyone's saying, okay, so 1 was allow, 2 is tend, 3 is process, 4 is educate, 5 is connect, 6 is seek, 7 is decide, and 8 is act. Okay, so I'm going to go back to process. And again, if I don't cover something here that you guys want more information on, please send me an email and I will personally reply to you with, whatever I can do to help you. Process. So in the early stages of processing, I visited the accident site. I went to the cemetery. I dug through a million photo albums. I actually looked at his death certificate, which was super scary. I read through all of the cards and all of the things that people sent us. Now, when I'm processing, I'm not really sure how I process now, except that when specific things come up for me, like guilt, which is a big one, and I have learned that I can't beat myself up over the things that I did or didn't do that day. And, I'm sure you can imagine that, that I have guilt over, him playing outside, and he was 8 and I didn't really know about the danger of a pond in our neighborhood. I have a lot of guilt over what he was wearing that day, his clothes, his coat, just that it wasn't proper. And South Carolina, we didn't really have a bunch of warm clothing. And so we kind of put together layers of stuff. And I just sometimes think about that. But what I've learned on guilt is that, would it really have definitely changed things if I had done it differently? And the answer is, I don't know. I don't know. But guilt is not an emotion that is moving me forward and serving me. So I've kind of made my peace with the things that I did that day, and I've moved on. The next is educate. Initially, I read books on grief and loss, tons and tons of books. I loved reading stories of other people who'd been through it. I mean, I guess loved isn't the right word, but I needed to hear stories about how other people had survived this. And everybody didn't resonate with me. Some people didn't, and some people did, but that's what I had to do. I talked with some other moms that I knew that had lost a child, but honestly didn't know very many. Nowadays, there's a lot more information. There's a lot more people to connect with. So that's very helpful. So now, later in life, I educated myself not only on grief. I took a grief coaching class, but I started to educate myself on personal development and personal growth. There's so much out there on all of these topics. I mean, YouTube, podcasts, there's retreats. This conference is the perfect example of educating yourself. And, I just give you so much credit for doing it. It's not easy. And then sometimes even when you press the button and you pay your fee or whatever, that's just one part. The second part is actually going and showing up. And then the next part is going to be disconnecting from this and then going and putting some of the things that resonated with you into practice. It's not easy. I know it. But just know that it's all going to help you. It's going to help you have joy returning to your life. Then there was connect. So I told you in connect, I told the story a million times. I connected with a few close friends and coworkers, and again, I did go back to work right away, and that was actually a really good thing for me. It's not for everyone, but it was for me. I attended a support group, and I spoke to my mom every single day, pretty much. That was the person that anchored me into keeping my head up. Now, I connect in so many ways because I work in this space, and I have hundreds and hundreds of moms that I talk to, and I reach out to them. And so it's kind of like this perfect thing that's happened where people were reaching out to me. There were people that helped me through, and now I reach out to them, and I'm telling you, like, this for me is the best medicine. So you guys sitting here in this class, you think that you're doing something for yourselves, but just know that for me, you're doing something for me too, because you're allowing me to try to help you, and it feels so amazing. Let's see, then we go to seek. And seeking is just all about getting curious with the world. Looking for the proof of how other people survived, and then twisting that to be a way that you could survive. This may be the part that I really didn't do. And the reason that I say that I was stuck for years, I mean, I'm telling you, up until 6 years ago, I call myself stuck. I was like numb Karen. I just didn't, I just didn't connect. I didn't look. I didn't seek answers. I just stayed there. And so once I started learning to seek and doing the internal work, like I said, I got on a roll. I started looking for other tools, other methods to block the things that were holding me back, like my guilt, and confidence, and my abilities. And so the next thing is to decide. And this is where I say, you just decide. I decided that I wanted Nick's loss to mean something. I decided that I wanted my life to be a reflection of Nick. And I decided to love myself. And I feel like sometimes when you talk about self-love, it's so like cliche and corny, and it didn't used to connect with me, self-love, but now I really understand that I had to love myself through this whole process. And once I really started doing that, it was amazing. A lot of growth for me happening. And so again, you decided today to do this, and you're making little decisions every single day. And I mean, in the beginning, deciding can be, I'm going to take a shower today. I'm going to get out of bed today. And that's good enough. When you decide to do something, you don't have to be deciding to do some big, huge action. In fact, that's not the way to start. You just start with small things. You just start with the small little things that you think could help you. So the final is acting. And acting is just taking a step. I went to work. That was an action. I took care of my kids. I took showers. I left the house eventually. So that was early on. And then again, I allowed myself to be stuck. And then as time went on, something really crazy happened. And this is the thing that I started 6 years ago. And so I'm not saying that this is your answer. I'm just saying this was my answer. And once I did it, boom, like it was like an explosion, because I felt what joy felt like again. I was reminded of what true joy inside myself felt like. And I took a Zumba class. I know it's really corny, and I'm not like some, fitness guru. That's not what this is all about. But I found my thing. And I told myself I was going to go do it because so many people said that it was fun and I needed fun. And so, I just ask you, like, what are the things that inside your head you're thinking, that seems fun, or I would like to try that, or maybe someday I'll try that. Those little tiny things that are poking at you, those could be the answer. And it doesn't mean like Zumba's the answer to my whole life. It just got me started. And then I started delving into other things. It started a chain reaction. So I will say that the actions weren't all easy. I had to take action releasing relationships that weren't serving me anymore. And I actively sought out ones that were full of love and happiness for me. I became a grief coach. I quit my corporate job. I created my own company. I wrote a book. I have a trillion hobbies. I was going to say a million, but I really just can't stop. I'm just hungry to learn about everything. I'm a work in progress, and it's constantly self-growth, and it feels amazing. So let me go back to your comments and questions, because there's some good things here. I just didn't want to stop. So we went through that. Thoughts on going through child's belongings, clothes, and other personal items. I have a lot of thoughts on this. There are a lot of things that you can do, but I will say this. Allow yourself to be ready for it. There are times where we have to do it because we're moving, we're selling a house, whatever, but do it when you feel ready, and do it in a way that has meaning. Have a plan. Sometimes if we can say, I'll give you an example of one of my moms needing to clean out her daughter's bedroom because another child in the family needed a bedroom, and this was an empty bedroom now. And it was just so painful for her. But once she got to the point of knowing where her daughter's stuff was going to go, where the important stuff was going to go, that she had a place for it in the house, and that it was going to be meaningful for her, it became a lot easier. Email address I provided does not work. Karen at risingaboveInMemoryOf.com. I'm going to type it. And again, if you, well, hopefully it's okay. All right, we're good. What about the other mom who lost a child in the same accident as your son? Did you share your grief? Okay, so good question. We did not really share our grief. This is such a personal thing, and I guess she felt the same way, because we were good to each other. There was no problems. We didn't have any like animosity or anything like that. But I think that this is an individual journey. And just like with a spouse, you have to do this on your own. That was your child. This was my Nick, and she had her son. And we both had to go through all of these stages on our own. And we're still Facebook friends. We still talk. We still support each other. I still keep in touch with her daughter, who was the other boy who died in the accident, his sister. I have very warm feelings for them, but we didn't really grieve together. Connect. I found I have to be a little careful at this point about who I connect with, especially when I'm not feeling so strong, or they can pull me backward. I help others better in my stronger moments and feel invisible within a group in my weaker moments. Okay, this is amazing. Yeah, you totally do have to. And your whole priority system changes. Um, People who used to be your friends for certain reasons, it no longer, it may not make any sense for you anymore. And you turn to other people and other relationships that can help you. And again, this is you protect yourself. So what you're doing, yeah, if somebody's bringing you down, don't go there. You don't have to do that anymore. You're grieving, and you have permission in this world to grieve the way you need to grieve. Yes, stuck. That's what I meant, kind of, when I said acceptance. I'm not quite ready, 14 months out. I know I will, but not today. I'm waiting for the oomph, push, some event to help me jump. Maybe, I don't know. Kristen, yeah, I mean, 14 months is not a lot of time. And so all of you who are looking at the time frame and thinking there's some magical time, and I know that this is repeated probably in every conference class that you went to, there is no timeline. And like I said, I stayed in a place for a very long time, and I became a shell of myself. And so the reason that I really wanted to do this is because I just wanted to tell you that it doesn't have to take 20 years. But that doesn't mean 14 months is the answer, or that 3 years is the answer, or 5 or 10. It's individual, and you get to decide. But I just want, I always wished somebody had given me the permission, ding, the magic wand, and said, yes, go, you can do it. You're not doing anything wrong by trying to be happy. And, it honors your person more, not less. So I hope that, Kristen, helps. I agree with your connect. I feel it's a process of relearning your connections. Absolutely. I mean, you hear this all the time. People are so disappointed by the ones that they thought would be the ones to come through. But again, I go back to that discussion about people are scared to be around us. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. They think they're going to make us cry. And, little do they know they're not doing it. We're crying anyway. We're sad anyway. And the people who mean the most to us are the ones that just allow us to be ourselves and stick by. We don't need advice. We don't need someone to tell us what to do. We just need to be at first. Experiencing the same thing. I don't think people understand why I would want to go to a conference like this. That it's an indication that I'm stuck in my grief and I haven't moved on. Sue, complete opposite, right? And I mean, it's just like anything that you want to learn about. You have to learn about this journey. You have to know how other people did it. You have to get hints and tips about ways that you can climb this mountain. That's what it is. So, again, explaining to people, do you really need to explain it? I don't know. It depends on the person. But, really, you don't. You just do you and do what happens for you. And I'm guessing through this whole conference that there have not been a bunch of people talking about how, your life is ruined forever. I am guessing that's not what this is about. And so for people that don't understand why you go to this conference, they've obviously never been through this experience. And thank God for that. And most people haven't. I feel like I have categories of connections, ones that are better in emergencies, and then one that are those you can talk to better, and others that give you hope. Yes, Ritu, I don't know if that's your name or if that's like a nickname or whatever, but yeah, absolutely. You can put people in compartments. And how about turning to the ones that you need at the times that you need them? There's not, like I said, there's not one person that can fix this. It is a collective effort of a lot of different things. And, just celebrate what you do have and seek what you don't. And yeah, I think it's perfect to do exactly what this is the help in prioritizing, isn't it? It's like once you've lost somebody that is so near to you, it's like an instant prioritizer. You know, I know what's important now. In a day, it was overnight that I knew what was important and what wasn't. So, sorry I didn't put, okay, that's no problem, Debbie, all good. Karen, we need to scroll up. There's a question from another Debbie Miller, not me. Oh, that's crazy. Okay, let's see. Miller. Sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. Oh, I missed a couple here then. Oh yeah, sorry. So Debbie Miller, Wednesday it will be 3-year mark for us. I feel numb to it like I haven't before. I don't know why and it scares me. I've been doing my best to live my best life, but this numbness is scaring me. Did you experience this at all? Yes, Debbie, so numb. I didn't even know to let it scare me. I just thought this is who you become when you've lost a child. You just become this kind of shell of a person. And so don't let it scare you. This is part of the process. But again, just keep your mind open to the point that numbness doesn't have to last forever. And maybe this year on your three-year mark, this is the year you just want to be numb. You don't want to dredge up all this stuff. You do it when you feel the need to do it. And there is no certain timetable for that. But to kick the numb feeling, that's what I'm talking about, is to like make that decision, take a little action, do something a little scary, a little out of the ordinary. That's just what worked for me. So just understand, you know, give yourself grace. This is all part of a crazy process that we're going through. Thoughts on going through child's belonging. Okay, so we did do that. We talked about that. The other boy that died with Nick on the day, does his parents go to a support group or do you keep in contact? Okay, so maybe I did answer that, but I don't know if she went to a support group or not. I never attended a support group with her. She moved away very soon after. And we ended up staying in the house for a very long time and left his bedroom pretty much the same until we were moving. And so I kind of wish I would have taken a little more action on that as far as being prepared, because what ended up happening is day before moving day, I left that bedroom for the very last, and it was a hard day. Okay, so hopefully I don't want to miss anybody. Okay, yeah. Did you receive signs from Nick shortly after his passing and at times throughout the 24 years? Also, have you seen a medium and believe in them? I am early in my journey and have met several people who have had positive experiences with mediums. Okay, so yes, I've had a positive experience with a medium not all that long ago, and it was very reassuring. And I feel like since it's a very long story, I would love to have that conversation with you. If you send me an email, we can chat about it. I will just say, like, for me, it was amazing. But for everyone, it's not. And so you just have to do what works for you. And what feels right for you right now may not feel right in 10 years, you know? So, you know, initially seeing a medium scared me to death because I didn't know what it was going to be like. And I was afraid I was going to hear something I wasn't ready to hear. And so as time went on, I did attend a function. It was an incredible experience. So that is so personal, just like grief. Everything is just so personal. Signs though. Okay, so I love that I feel butterflies are signs. And I know that's like everyone says butterflies, but butterflies I really love. And I always like to think that that's Nick here for just a minute to to let me know that he's here and he's okay and just keep going. Compassionate friends was helpful for you. So here's the example that I was talking about. Okay, so I went to a compassionate friends meeting, like I'm saying, within a month. I was just this young person. It was a huge, huge meeting. It was a huge circle of people. It was very new. I was on the edge of tears walking into the place. It was across town. I had to go to a building I'd never been to before. I was leaving my children. I was a mess just even walking into the meeting, which is okay. I mean, I'm sure that happens to everyone. But it was just so heavy for me. And I was working and taking care of little kids, or at the time, I think just my daughter. And so at that time, it didn't feel good to me. But I will tell you what made a huge impression. The woman who was running the meeting had been in it I think it was 10 years. And I was just thinking 10 years, she doesn't even know what I'm going through. But she did. And she ran the meeting beautifully. And there were so many people in there getting so much help. And it just kind of put in my head that, down the road, I want to do that. I want to help people. That feels right to me. But of course, at the time, I couldn't even help myself. How long should these stages take?
Excuse me, Karen. We have 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you so much. How long should these stages take, and how do we know if we're stuck in a stage and not able to move on? Well, again, stages are going to take, first of all, these stages are not a finite amount of time. You don't pass through them and be done with them. These are things, these are steps that you're going to be taking your whole life. All of these things that I'm talking about, you can do through your entire life. What did I do with page 1? Allow, tend, process, educate, connect, seek, decide, act. These are all things that you're going to keep doing. You're going to keep doing them, and they're going to advance you a little bit. And then you can do it again and again and again and again. So there is no number for stage. This thing is just to begin doing something. I just feel like trying to put a number on it is going to limit you. It's going to make you feel like you missed the boat. You're too slow, you're too fast. There is no right answer. Don't worry about the outside world and what they're thinking about where you're at in your grief. No one knows where you are except for you. And the only thing I would say on how do you know if you're stuck in a stage, so you wouldn't really be stuck in any of mine because it's actions that you're taking, and you can't go wrong by taking action. But if you're feeling stuck, just ask yourself, the concept of joy, is it possible? If you feel that it's not, then you need to, I don't want to say need, I hate the word need. You don't need to do anything. But if you want to feel joy, you should start at the beginning. Allow yourself to feel the feelings. Tend to yourself. Take care of yourself. Do nice things for yourself. All of this gets you rolling. It's sneaky at first. Allowing is not an action, really, but sometimes we fight it. We fight feeling the feelings. We fight allowing ourselves to be human, so try not to put a number on anything. It's a journey. And Sue, like I said, I don't mean to discourage you, but there's gonna be some downtime, even when you feel good. But the best feeling is when you get that good feeling just once. Even when you go down again, you know what that good feeling feels like, and that it's possible, and that you can remember it. So to me, the biggest message is just please be open. Please give yourself permission to love yourself enough to seek these things and try to remove any guilt that comes along with being open and taking steps forward, because guilt has no place in our lives. I always, like, guilt is something that is just so hard for so many moms. And I will just say, guilt is a word that means you did something wrong on purpose. And we all know 99.99999% of the time, none of us did anything wrong on purpose. We all act out of love for our children. We do the best that we can. And so, you know, all we can do is just give ourselves the grace to know that we did the best that we could. And did I miss your answer to the question about how to handle other kids' milestones when you know your child won't? Oh, I think I missed that. Sorry, Debbie. Let me think. How to handle other kids' milestones. Well, initially, again, it goes back to allowing. Initially, allow yourself to do what needs to be done and explain it. If you have other, I'm assuming you mean like you have other children who have birthdays and need celebrating and you just feel like you can't do it. You know, just give yourself the grace to do what you need to do and explain to them that this is how you are right now. And then as time goes on, you're not going to feel that way. I don't think you're going to feel that way. You're going to realize that these little children that are still around, little, big, you know, whatever they are, they're getting you through. They're giving you so much, whether it's your own children or others around you or other people, you know, that you want to celebrate them. And, you know, you can always make a place for your child in any celebration. And it's up to you whether you want it to be public or you want it to be private, as far as you remembering that your loved one is there with you at these celebrations and deciding what part they would have in it. It's kind of like the story with the stone in your pocket. You know, put this in your pocket and let it be there with you and let you just hold it and know that, you know, you're holding on. And if it's appropriate to share it and you want to share it, then share it. You know, these people who are around, they love you too. And they loved your person too. And so they're not necessarily wanting to just wipe it all away. You know, we all need time to grieve and we're all going to grieve in a different way. But I just encourage you to love yourself and take action. Little tiny action at first, and you'll see that it can snowball into something really big. And, you know, I want you to have joy again in your life, because when you haven't had it for a while and you get a little taste of it, it feels so good. So, Debbie, I think that is it, unless anyone has any more questions or if I missed any. I love you guys so much. I have so much love and respect for you, knowing what you're going through and that you pressed the button and signed up and showed up for yourselves. It's such a powerful action that you took. And I just have so much love for you. So again, email me if you want the worksheet, and I won't give you the one with my notes, or if you have any specific questions that I can help you with.
Thank you, Karen. That was a fantastic session. I got a lot out of it. And I hope everyone else here did too.
Me too, I hope so.
We thank everyone for joining us at the 8 stages of growing through grief. And I don't know about all of you, but I'm kind of sad that today's ending, but all good things must come to an end. So you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And thank you again. Great job, Karen.
Thank you.